are you here to debate?
20.
Okay. What's your name and pronouns?
Abby and she, her, I guess.
Okay. What are you here to debate about?
The trans men and women are men and women. I just want to know what your definition of a woman is. That's all I want to know.
Sure. I would define a woman as an adult human whose gender identity aligns with their personal schemas on the female sex.
But is that what the actual definition is, or is that just your definition?
Definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive, so there is no actual definition for any word. Definitions just describe how words tend to be used. They don't prescribe specific correctness to words.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the sexuality part and the K through 12. So teaching kindergartners about your sexuality is okay?
Yeah, age-appropriate sex and sexuality education is definitely okay. It leads to more understanding for children around consent. It leads to less likelihood of them being targeted for assault, and it leads to, if they are targeted, they're better able to describe what happened to them, as well as it just makes them more
For a
tolerant
5-year-old?
people. Yes. 5-year-olds that are able
Like,
to adequately know the names of their anatomy and describe what happens to them, like with adults touching them. Yeah, they're better able to avoid being targeted for assault, and they're better able to talk about what happened to them if they are assaulted.
so you're speaking of like sex ed
Well, it's
for
comprehensive
children.
sex and sexuality education. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Okay, but are you meaning like teaching about LGBTQ in schools?
That would be a part of it. Yeah, we would teach them like family and friend circles, and that would inherently involve people who are part of the LGBTQ community. Like teaching them that some of
A
their friends might
5-year-old?
have, yes, some 5-year-olds have 2 dads and 2 moms. Some 5-year-olds see that their friends have 2 dads and 2 moms. So we would tell them, hey, it's okay that your friends have 2 dads and 2 moms. These are just part of the different family structures that exist in our society.
Why not leave that up to the parents, though, and not have the school teach them shit like that?
Wait, do you think, okay, what's wrong with the school teaching them this?
It's not their place, first of all. And what if a parent doesn't want their kid to know about it? Like,
Then I would say that that's a bad parent and they should lose their kids.
they should lose their kids because
Absolutely.
they don't want their kids to know about people that are transgender.
Yes, 100%.
I think that keeps confusion out of
are there
a
kids
children's
with
head.
are there kids with trans parents?
I'm sure there is.
Do you think those kids are confused?
No, because they're around it all the time and they know about it because their parents have told them. But if you don't want your child
wait,
to
hold
know?
on, stop, hold on. You just said the reason you wouldn't want your child to know about this is because it might confuse them, but you just admitted that kids who do know about this stuff aren't confused. So what would be the reason you don't want your kids to know if it's not about confusion?
So let me give you an example.
Sure.
Let's say that like my kid has a friend that's like has transgender parents, and they come to me and they're like, oh, why do they look like this? What's going on? And I explain to them, and then they're confused and they think about it and think about it and think about it. And children cannot comprehend that kind of stuff. They cannot comprehend sexuality. They cannot comprehend.
Do children with trans or parents or gay parents comprehend that stuff?
Not really. They just kind of realize, hey, I got two dads. It's pretty cool, but they're not sitting here.
You think they can't comprehend it? You think a kid with two moms or 2 dads is confused?
A 5-year-old?
Do you know how children work?
We're talking little tiny children.
Yes, have you been around 5-year-olds? 5-year-olds are incredibly inquisitive. What are you talking about? Your 5-year-old can't read?
Most of them.
Your 5-year-old can't read?
But I'm saying most 5-year-olds. I do not have a kid.
First of all, 5-year-olds can read, sis. I don't know what pipe you're smoking from. 5-year-olds absolutely can read. It's one of like the essential things they teach you in kindergarten is how to read.
Actually,
and most kids go into kindergarten knowing how to read.
It's actually in first grade.
That is not true.
When you learn how to read.
That is not true. I have a kindergartner in my house. Well, they're in first grade now. They were in kindergarten last year, and they learned how to read. Not true at all.
Well, when I was in kindergarten, We didn't learn how to when I
I
was in school.
I
We didn't
I
learn
I
how to read till first
I
grade.
guarantee you learned how to read in kindergarten.
I really don't remember ever learning how to read in kindergarten.
I promise
All things
you, you
considered.
learned how to read in kindergarten. How else would they do anything? What would be the purpose of chalkboards in a kindergarten classroom if the kids don't know how to read? They wouldn't be able to read what's on the chalkboard. What would be the purpose of books in kindergarten classrooms? Why would we take kindergartners to libraries sometimes? They can't read. What would be the purpose of these things if they can't read?
I mean, when I was in kindergarten, they didn't teach us how to read till I was in first grade, and I can vividly remember that. So I mean,
What
that's
state
okay,
did you grow
whatever.
up in?
But do what now?
What state did you grow up in?
Tennessee.
Okay, well, that might explain some of it.
Curriculum is different for every state.
Maybe it's just my northern upbringing where we taught kids how to read prior to kindergarten.
Okay, yeah, maybe. But I mean, I vividly remember not being able to learn until first grade. So, speaking out of my state, like most 5-year-olds that I know are not necessarily, if they're in first grade, they're learning how to read. But if they're, because you really start kindergarten between the ages of 4 and 5 here. And I
Yeah,
actually went to pre-K.
I think
So I
I
started
think
kindergarten
you
at
can
4.
teach a 4-year-old to read basic sight words.
You could, yes. That is very true. You could do that. But I mean, like being able to full on read, these kids can't do that. So these kids don't even really know how to fully read or write or understand basic um, context clues and things like that. I mean, why would you bring up things that are confusing for some adults to children?
I don't think it's confusing
Like,
for adults either. I think you have some adults that are
I mean,
just
I don't think the
dumb,
whole gay and
but
straight shit's confusing for adults. I think that's pretty
I don't think it's. You
straightforward,
want to
and
know
I
how
really
I know
don't
it's
care
not?
about
Look,
that.
I'll explain how it's not confusing. If a kid comes up to me and says, "Why does that boy? Why does that boy have two parents? Or why are their parents two men?" I would say because those two people love each other. They wanted a child, and they love that child, and that is their child. That's it. Then you know what the kid's gonna say? Okay, and run off and do something else. That's usually how it goes when you explain to kids like what gay people are or how gay people love or things like that. You don't have to get into the nitty gritty. You don't have to go, well, they wanted to adopt, so they did IVF, and so they blah blah blah. You don't have to get into any of that. Those two love each other. They have a child that they love. That's it. Kids understand the
And
concept
most
of
kids are gonna be like,
parents.
okay, but then they're gonna have questions. I mean,
And so you
every kid
answer
has
them. So you
questions.
answer them. Kids have questions about everything. You should no conversation with a child should just be one answer to one question. They're kids, they're learning. So yes, they're going to have follow-up questions, then you answer those follow-up questions.
And what if you're like, that's not something I'm comfortable answering because you're a 5 year
Why
old?
wouldn't you be
Maybe when you're
comfortable
older.
answering? What do you think these kids are going to ask that you wouldn't be comfortable answering?
There are a lot of the kids say the damnedest things. And there are a lot of things that kids ask that a lot of people are not comfortable answering. They're like, oh, let's wait
What?
till you're a little bit older and so you
Like
can
what? Like
understand and
what
you can
specifically?
comprehend.
What specifically?
Um,
What could they possibly ask? They don't know what sex is, so they're not going to ask you how those two people porked. They don't know what sex is at that age.
no.
They're
But
not gonna. They
if
don't
they
know
go
where
home
babies
and they
come
have a
from
mom
yet.
and a dad, and most
Uh-huh.
5-year-olds are like, Mom, how did I get here? And you tell them, well,
The
mom and
stork.
dad, they love each other and this and that and whatnot.
Wait, how would you
And
tell a 5-year-old who has a mom and a dad? How would you tell them if this was your your hypothetical 5-year-old kid? How would you tell them where they came from as a baby?
I would just, oh God, I don't know how I would say that. That's a hard conversation.
I don't think it
Hey,
is.
go away.
I think it's
Hold
super
on.
easy.
No. Sorry, my dog went off. But I mean, I think it is kind of hard. I don't have kids, so I don't know how I would do that. I have to ask my
Simple.
mom.
Mom and dad loved each other. So they wanted
And
a baby, so they put you in mom's stomach, and then 9 months later you popped out.
yeah,
They see pregnant
I
people
mean, yeah.
sometimes, so they know that babies are in bellies.
I mean, I was told that babies came out of belly buttons when I was like 6 years old, and I believed that for a really long time.
All right, I would say I would say that that's a bad education you received.
Well, I mean, I was little,
I know, but
and I don't think.
I wouldn't lie. I wouldn't say, like, I personally don't think we should be telling kids that the storks bring babies and things like this. I think all this does is what is actually causing confusion. Kids are inquisitive. Kids understand much more than people realize they understand. You can easily say, we put you in mommy's belly and then you popped out. Some people might even be like, God put you in mommy's belly and 9 months later you popped out. If and then when they see if they see two men parents, you can very easily just rework what you just said. Oh, these two wanted a baby, so they got a woman to carry. So they really loved so hard, so they had somebody carry their baby for 9 months, and then here the baby is for them. Right? Kids, these follow up questions people think kids are going to ask, these really intense, really probing follow up questions. Do you know how quickly kids get bored of this question tangent and just move on to something else? They don't actually care.
I mean, yeah, unless there's, you know, autistic children, they're very inquisitive on why.
Sis, I was an autistic
I'm,
kid. It's not that.
I
It's not
mean,
that deep.
I mean, my brother was autistic, or he still is autistic, and that's how he thought when he was a kid. He was very much like, "Why is this the way it is? I want to know exactly why, but why, but why." So that's what
Sure,
I'm saying. I mean, it's just
if I had a kid that really wanted to know, I'd probably tell them. If they were like really, really like they were really pushing, I'd probably just be like, yeah, there's a thing that adults can do that can lead to a baby. I'm not going to tell you what that thing is, but there's a thing that adults do that is an adult thing that leads to babies.
okay, and that's the way you should go about it. But I
So
mean, as
that's
far as
so
like
again,
bringing
there's
in
it's not
two men
complicated.
or two women, or I mean, I can just go ahead and tell you, like right now, you probably won't get anywhere with me as far as my beliefs are pretty set. But I mean, I'm open to listen and hear what you think. But
What
anyways,
it's
that's
your
all I just wanted to know was those couple of things. But appreciate you for talking to me.
sure thing.
All right, bye.